Good afternoon. This is Talking Trade Live with On the Tools. My name's Andy. I'm going to be the host for the next half hour, 40 minutes. The big question is, can we beat last week's viewing figures of 656,000 people? That is more than most daytime telly and Sky TV channels. So obviously this is the place to come. We discuss everything to do with, everything to do with construction. So today's
If you can hear
topic
me,
is...
I can't hear anything.
Right, Dave's with us, everybody. Straight in, that is Dave Gutierrez, who's a bricklayer. Stephen in the corner, as a lot of you will know, is Carpenter of the Year with On the Tools from last year. And Nick, who's been on before, is, well, funnily enough, the name says it all. He's a spark. And today we are talking about what is better for us trade, working on site or working domestically. Stephen, first of all, mate, you're an award-winning chippy. Where is it better to work and why? I think I know what you're going to say.
100% it's domestic. With the larger stuff, all new build houses, it's thrown together. There's no pride taken in their work. Domestic, with the domestic work, you're not guaranteed your next job, so you take more pride in it. So yours only as good as your last job, so you have to take pride. No, domestic to the industrial is out the window. Domestic all the way.
Nick, you did a couple of years, didn't you, on a site, but now you're in domestic. How come?
Yeah, so when I was qualifying, worked commercial. It was all right. I didn't really know much difference, and then moved on to domestic, and it was just breeze of fresh air. Obviously, you got the communication, you got the rapport with the customer. They look after you, you look after them. You care about the quality of work, and I don't know. It's not a free for all on a site where everyone's against everyone. It's you work as a team, especially when you got a good gang around you. So yeah, domestic all the way.
Now, Dave's a bricklayer who's not very good with technology, and now he's turned himself into a white circle with a little grey dot. So hopefully he'll be back in a minute. Thank you for everyone joining us so far. I'll try and read out all comments, so please keep them coming in. Jordan Daniels, there we go. We've got one site work, 100%. Let us know why, Jordan, because I think this is going to turn into a bit of a row. Site versus domestic, because domestic, as all four of us have said, are absolutely the way forward. Hello to Canada, Eric Burpee. Great name, Eric. It's freezing over there. You're not grafting hard enough, son. Simple as that. Get grafting. Now, Stephen, you're carpenter and running your own building company. You enjoy your day-to-day job. I would go as far to say way more than if you were on a site. Would you agree with that, mate?
Definitely. Like, I worked on sites for years, and it's a last job. With the domestic, I do get up. I love my job. I get up, no worries about getting your alarm. You get up before it. When I was on sites, you had to set your alarm, and you just hated going to site. You were logging in. All the health and safety on the bigger sites is just a joke at the minute. It used to be about protecting the workforce. Now it's just an industrial way of making money, and it's crazy. But yeah, I do love my job, and you know that.
Well, I think Giles Wellham is summing up how the four of us are thinking. Hang on, his comment shot off the screen. 1 second, Giles. Domestic site is a ball ache. Everyone in your way. I'm with him. You can only do so much organising for yourself before you're reliant on other people. This is where you lose money. Very good point, Giles. We're all over that, mate. There's four of us with you. Jordan Daniels is replied to. There's only two of them, site work. But Jordan said, no way, sites are better. Commercial sites, fresh installs, neater. Better work. Get involved, people. He reckons it's better work than us on domestics. Let's hear thoughts on that. Nick Bundy, better work on sites.
What? I don't know. It's all depends on the trade as well, though. Like, you look at the stuff I do on YouTube. It's as neat as it can be, but you could get another domestic spark that's just rough as hell and doesn't give a shit. So I don't know. It's sort of who you work with, like brickies, plasterers as a gang, bathroom fitters, kitchen fitters. If they're all in it together, you can get it nice, sweet job, onto the next one, good review. But when I worked on site, no one gave a shit about what stuff looked like as long as it worked or it passed. Really?
Well, there are downsides to both sides. Domestically, Ollie, hope pronounce your surname, Walrond. He's made a good point. We're going to be talking about the watchers. Domestic is great when you don't have a customer that decides to continually be in the way. Stephen, we've all had it. They're usually old people that just sort of sit there and just watch everything. Believe me, I can't stand it. How do you get rid of them?
Well, I had a client when we were doing a bit of dry lining before, and doing it all nice, neat, perfect. He went away, came back, and said, "You're doing it wrong." I went, "Pardon?" And he says, "That's not how it's done on YouTube." So what do you do?
Well, my response would be, listen, mate, you're obviously an expert because you've seen YouTube.
Crack on.
I'm off. You do it, son. Nick, if you had customers telling you, oh, I've been on YouTube and you're not doing it right.
Yeah, well, yeah and no. Oh, I've seen online, this is how you fix this or you do that. But the worst thing is when we've had customers, they follow you around with Hoovers. You're like, I've not finished yet. And they're just following you around. So I've got my own Hoover. You know, I've got two actually. I will clean up.
That's good for a spark.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Without tearing into sparks, which is obviously a great hobby, which all other trades enjoy, those two Hoovers have actually left the van, Nick.
Mate, they're out. They're dirty at the moment. One of them's being used as we speak.
Yep. Is that your front room or is that on a job, though? Got the old woman moaning.
It's on the job. It's my apprentice. Bless him.
Now, we've got a very funny comment. Isaac Richter. The only good thing about site is a skip. Dave, are you back? Can you hear us?
I'm back. That was an absolute nightmare, guys. I want to swear, but we're live now, but fuck it. Yeah, I'm here.
Right, mate. We've had a comment from Isaac Richter. The only good thing about site work is the skip.
The only good thing about site work is the skip. Probably. Who said this?
This is Isaac Richter's come in with. We've got a few more people supporting site works better than domestic work. Oh, hang on. Let's see. Here we go. Well, I'll tell you what.
About domestic.
Domestic. We're also saying that there was a few people saying watchers. The old customer getting in the way is a nightmare. Stephen just added a couple of points. We've got Mandeep Sidhu. Brilliant way of getting rid of watchers. He farts. Dave, how do you get rid of customers that won't disappear?
I just tell them. I basically just say, do you know what? We haven't come here. It's not a theatre. We haven't come here for an audience. We've come here to do a job for you. So if you don't mind, I would love to just get on with my job without an audience. I'd just be blatant, but obviously be polite with it as well. But yeah, you know, some people find it therapeutic to watch a trade, though.
Yeah, but it's also therapeutic to watch
Tell them
lots
to fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can say it's therapeutic to watch porn, but you can't go to work and do that, can you?
Well, I don't know. They probably some.
Well, I don't know, Andy. You may.
Some housewives probably love staring at a hairy ass crack. It's probably a bit of porn for them, isn't it?
Well, this is another point. I am close to writing a memoir of life in the eyes of a builder because I've been in quite a lot of posh houses where I used to work, and there's all sorts going on. Nick, would you agree that generally site work is going to be mainly lads? There's obviously more women coming into construction, but doing domestic, you might have a little bit more of a better view on the eye for male trades and female trades.
I don't know. On when I was on site, there's quite a few women on it. I think they were a few carpenters training, and there was one or two sparks. But domestic guys around here, there's quite a few women tradesmen, so it's on the grow, definitely.
I think down south, I don't know why domestically we haven't got millions of trades. There's a few plasterers I know, decorators, but another subject for another day because it's great that more women are getting involved. Certainly domestically, we need to see more of them. So back to today's subject: site or domestic work. What is better? We've got a lot of people. Well, at the moment, it's looking like an 80-20 split with domestic hammering site workers into ground. Aaron Powell, he says domestic because you get paid quicker and for the price you quoted. Dave, you agree with him?
Totally agree with him. 100%. It's a direct from you to the client. There's no in between. You know, you don't have to send your invoice over to the company that you're subcontracting to, most probably, and then them off to the main contractor. It's direct. So I 100% agree with that. And that's probably the biggest pro out of the pros and cons list. Domestic
Well,
is the way forward.
I've got to jump in, Dave, because Neil Allen, he has thrown a right one into the mix here. He reckons banter is different on sites and domestic. Which is it better on, site or domestic, Dave Gutierrez?
Right, okay. Well, do you know what? I think when it's domestic, you got to keep the banter to a bare minimum because you have clients around and there's neighbours that you want to impress to get next jobs. So there you go. It goes to show the quality of work in domestic is 100% better than what you get in commercial because they're always pissing about.
Fair point.
Nick, your thoughts, mate, on that one? Fair play to Nick. He's looking very still. So, Stephen, what do you think while he unstills himself?
100%. Like as Dave rightly said, with domestics, you don't get the scaffolders coming on, roaring and shouting, battering around the roofers and smoking, doing whatever they normally do, throwing their bottles of Stella off the roof, and that you just don't get it in domestics.
Well, listen, I think there's a site work support seems to be picking up. Richie Maxwell, I think he's a mate of yours, isn't he, Stephen? He reckons on-site patter is king. Craig Gamble has made a point which sadly could be true. Domestics, you don't get your tools, Nick. Dave, do you think? Sadly, I've mine done in September, so I'm disagreeing.
Old Mr. Gamble's made a gamble with that comment, I think, mate. Because when I was doing domestic work for several years as a contractor, we had loads of tools nicked. The odd tool here and there. I'm sure a lot of people be nodding. You know, a lot of electricians, mostly with their screwdrivers and all that. No, I disagree. I think that you, as a domestic builder, you know everyone there. Who's going to nick off people they know? If you're talking about your van parked outside and it gets broken into, you're just unfortunate, right?
Sorry, apologies to Richie Maxwell. I just known him as Richie. So apologies, of course, a very well-known bricklayer who was on last week. Sorry, mate, you've got so many names. You're like some sort of alias spy. So my apologies on that. Right, we're talking about domestic versus site work. What's better? We seem to think possibly the banter's better on site work because you haven't got clients getting in the way. You don't get watchers on sites. Sadly, tools are nicked on both. Keep comments coming in and we're going to find out if it's better on site or domestically. Brain clear, straight to the point, no messing about with any inductions, risk assessments, parking issues. Tools getting nicked when you're doing domestic. Stephen, I'm with him on that. It's a lot of old balls, isn't it? Sometimes when you've got to go on site doing all that sort of paperwork and guff.
Yeah, 100%. But he made a point about the parking there. I'm sitting staring at a parking ticket on the front of my van down here in London, so I can't argue with that.
Parking is true, isn't it? Parking's not good for anybody. If you're working in a city, trying to get anywhere parked, if that customer's not got a driveway, is a nightmare. Nick seems to have unsteeled himself. He looks like he's now stuck to a brick wall. Nick, we were discussing banter. When your time on site, would you say you get away with it a bit more because you haven't got customers next to you that you're doing domestic?
Yeah. So my phone got too hot in the window, so it turned itself off. Sorry. Banter on site, it's a great laugh. I mean, you see loads of things going way too far. When I was on commercial, we sort of fell out with chippies, and they decided to drill a hole in the bottom of our toolbox and squirt expanding foam in it overnight. And it was all funny until you open it up in the morning, all your tools are trashed. So I get that wouldn't happen on domestic at all. You know, you have no idea where the people come from, who they are, that you're working with on big building sites. So yeah, it's funny to a point, but then it always turns stupid. Let's be honest, and that's the way it is, isn't it?
Stephen, do you think the wind-ups and the sort of pissing about is a bit more fun on site work compared with domestic? Because domestic, generally, you're with your mates that you work with a lot. So site work could be better in that respect, that you can basically wind a load of people up and play a load of jokes on them.
Yeah, it would be like, and to be fair, on site, there was a lot more messing about. bit more crack because nobody cared really on the site work. But on the domestics, if you have a new apprentice and send them for the skirting board ladder or the tartan paint or the long weight, no, you do have a laugh every now and again. Or if you have a new lad coming in that doesn't really know you, just take the piss out of him. So it's a bit of it has ups and downs on where you are for the banter.
Matt Berry has made a fair point that I think we're all going to agree with. He has made a fair point, but there's so many comments, he's flown off. Sorry. Site work, and this is a good point. I'm with him on this. Argue out a rate and you're on the job. No quotes, no dealing with people that don't know what they're on about, apart from the site manager. True. Dave, you spend a lot of time looking at jobs, doing prices. Site work, obviously, there's a positive for that. There's none of that there, is there?
No. You know, I think when I again, you know, I'm not saying that site work's terrible, guys. You know, if you're looking at becoming a bricklayer or a chippy to crack on with that sort of industry, the construction industry as a whole, I've got to get it out there, is the best industry to get into. I'm not just saying it. I think it really is, because you've got a sense of freedom to express your craftsmanship, whether it's domestic or whether it's commercial. I do think that you can express your work and be able to sort of get the best out of you in domestic. When you price a job domestic, I don't usually have a problem with that. I think the payment stages and all the paperwork and all of the boring stuff that people think is boring is so essential, but it complies more when we do a domestic job to a point where commercial, there's always this, you know, unforeseen like contingencies or retention money and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I disagree. I think I disagree. I can't see his comment. It was there, but now it's gone. But I think I'm on the right page, am I?
Yeah, sounds pretty good to me, Dave. Now, Nick, we've got a comment about money coming in. I've got to come to you being the resident spark on today's show, because obviously you can't shut your back door because all the 50s are falling out because you lot are paid far too much. Jack Sparrow says site is better pay. What do you reckon as that?
My experience, no, because the way I run my business and the growth in it, you would never earn what I earn as a domestic spark. No way. Unless you were managing in a managerial role and that sort of stuff, but as a hands on the tools on a commercial site, doing the same thing I would do in a house, doing a commercial building, no, I can't see there could be a comparison. It's always domestic. That's if you run your business correctly. Do you know what I mean?
Stephen, that's another point, isn't it? Running your business correctly. How much time do we spend after we finish at 4 doing paperwork and contracts, payment schedules, seeing clients, seeing your accountant? That's surely a downside to domestic, isn't it?
Massive downside to it, but at the end of the day, especially if you're starting a business, you have to put the hours in and the time in and grow the team behind you, and then you don't have to do that later on. For instance, last night I was in the office till 9 o'clock getting quotes done. So it is a downside with the commercial. You have a big job in front of you. It might last 2 years, whereas the domestic side project we're doing at the minute, it's a 4-month project, but it could lead on to a 2-year project after this. So you don't know. So you just put in that extra time to get there and get it done.
One thing we were talking about before we came on air was the fact that we all feel, being mainly domestic, that we have a lot more pride over the quality because we want to impress the client who will talk to all their friends and neighbours and mums at the school gate and everything else. We want it to go as well as possible and finish as well as possible. Dave, you're in agreement with that? And you generally, the quality on domestic is higher than site work?
Yeah, 100 million%. We're there to impress. So when it's domestic, it means a lot more, which I think the client gets the best out of us. We get the best out of all of our trades because we're there all the time, and we want to impress because we want the next project. If we could dominate a road or an area, like you said, Andy, get the parents to talk at the school gates or family members. It all leads on to another project. And again, I know, and I always repeat this, you're only as good as your last job. And I really do believe that domestic work keeps you on your toes. and that's why I think that domestic, for me personally, is the best way to go ahead, go through it. From the previous comment though, I would say that as a trade, maybe commercial is better paid. Bricklayers are getting paid more if they're just strictly just doing brickwork, for example, than if they were going to come on and be on day rate on a domestic project. So I think as a business point of view, a director's point of view, no. But as an operative point of view, yeah, they do get paid a bit more on site than they do domestic. But will they be happier? I don't think so in the long run. Your avenue, your opportunities are open a lot more when you're doing domestic work. If you're working for a builder like I did before, and you learn a decent trade and you learn how to run a business as well. When you're just on site, you just know that trade. You don't learn the business side of it, so you can't move on from there. Well, you can, but not as much.
I'm going to chuck that at you, Nick. Being a spark, domestic and site work, all you really do, Sparks, as we know, you obviously get in the way and don't tidy up and all the rest of it, but you're drilling a few holes in your timber or you're chucking a few cables and then you're fixing some face plates and maybe an LED and a spur. Quality doesn't really differ to site and domestic because you don't really do a lot, do you?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Most of our hard work you never see anywhere.
He's lost for words.
It's either in floors or ceilings, it's the containment work. The stuff you're going to see is the stuff you need to put the hours and the time and effort into, definitely.
No, listen, I love Sparks. It's just a very easy target. When you've been doing this for years, it's Sparks are just. It's just like having, it's having an apprentice there all day. You can have a lot of fun, but we admire your work, and obviously without you guys, we couldn't listen to the radio. Now, Dave.
I take glory, Andy, with all them little LED lights that turn on afterwards. Always bring a massive smile to my clients' faces at the end of a project, I tell you.
Well, this was my next point, Dave. You've also got, in domestic, you've got clients that are going to, hopefully, by the end of the job, go, that looks stunning. And to see them afterwards, where you've turned, a shit tip of a house into this award-winning, stunning show home, they're going to love it. And it's great working in domestic, in that site work. You don't get that. You finish your bit and go.
No, that's right, 100%, Andy. When you see your client, you've worked with your client for 4, 5 months, 6 months, and you've come with new ideas or you've added things in and you've worked with them. It's quite a personal thing for them and you to build a relationship, but to see them at the end of it go, I'm so happy. There's stressful times, but to see that at the end of it, it makes it worth every builder out there that's doing it worthwhile. That we're doing something that we love. But that's in any industry, I suppose, if you love what you do. But for us, to sit back and see a client and say, I can't wait until everyone comes round, a big party to show this off. That's what we want to know. That's what we want to hear, right?
Well, Stephen, you obviously do a lot of extensions. I think you're working on a couple of jobs at the moment. Getting that appreciation from the client at the end, obviously your fitted wardrobes and all your bespoke joinery, it looks absolutely superb. You get a lot of customers going, wow, don't get that on site work, mate.
Definitely not. But with your appreciation, yes, you get it sometimes, but then you do get the clients that want every little thing and don't appreciate nothing. We had a client last year and we went through hoops for them and no appreciation whatsoever. But a current client of ours now, she couldn't give us any more appreciation if she tried. No, I think, to be fair, touch wood, she's the best client I've ever had. So it's
that is just blown it. Everybody keep an eye on Talking Trade Live. Next week I'll be coming on and Stephen's been knocked 40 grand and the best client he's ever had. It's going to happen. Now, Dave, just back to site work, one of the positives, it's regular work, isn't it? If you just started out and you've not got a name, you've not got a reputation, there's a positive for site work because you can just turn up and graft.
Do you know what? There's positives, and we've been caning it a bit. But when we were doing site work a few years back, commercial work, we were fortunate to get in with a couple of decent contractors, and it was frequent work, and the work was big, so that you've got constant work, and it was falling onto another project. If you befriend, you get to know people in the industry, a little bit of networking and site managers, etc., and then you bounce onto another contractor, and before you know it, you're taking on, your own bit in a large development. So there is pros to it, but I think to wait, like we're weighing it up today, there is no comparison for me, but there is opportunities. I think our industry's got a better reputation now. I think back in the day, you got your brickies with their asses hanging out, throwing muck on each other and all this kind of stuff. That don't happen anymore. Health and safety's on it. There's a lot of young people come through, professional young people. Our trades, men and women, are beyond that now, and they're literally marching on. So I think they're unsung a little bit on the commercial front, so it's not all bad, and it is constant work.
Well, this is Talking Trade Live with On the Tools. We've got about 10 minutes left. We're talking about what is better, site work or domestic work. We've been through quite a lot of stuff pushing towards domestic. Now, one thing I like about domestic is you can have your radio on pretty much any volume you want. You can sing along. You haven't got a load of paperwork, health and safety forms and all that sort of stuff. Nick, do you think site work these days is slightly over the top with all this guff that you have to sign? Oh, look at this is unbelievable. The only Spark who literally, he just got tea being made for him. I mean, do you see a carpenter or bricklayer have that happen to? No, because they're proper tradespeople. Anyway, sorry, Nick. Have sites got too much paperwork and guff to stop us getting on?
There's a lot more health and safety in there compared to domestic, and a lot of, half of it, is there to save people, but to me, there's too much going on. There's too many papers to sign, too many people you got to look out for. You got to do this, too many hoops to jump through, like you said. And it's not. When I did it, that was 10 years ago, and it was stupid then. So I can only imagine now it's just 3 times as bad, really. You need to use your common sense most of the time when you're in domestic. Common sense to get you through. But obviously, common sense lacks in brickies and carpenters. So, you know what I mean?
Well, the great news is for everybody watching, we will be soon doing Who is the Top Trade, and we are going to be putting it together as basically a knockout system. So we're going to have, just for example, a spread against a decorator, and I'm going to sit in the middle and let these two go at it hammer and tongs. So keep tuned for that, because I think there's rumours we're going to get a little trophy at the end, and no one's done it. I've looked into it. No one's done Who is the Top Trade. So I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to get voted in, because that's what counts. It'll be you voting for it. And at the end of it,
Sparks across the top of it. We already know.
We've got interference from the electrician.
We'll just build a wall in front of that little one there. We'll just build a little wall in front, right? And it's sorted, isn't it? And my chip, look, he's fainted. And I'm sure Steve will definitely agree with that, because he could build a little roof over my brick wall. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Stephen, looking ahead, we've done the domestic and residential. There's a little bit of an issue with my comments, so apologies, I'm not able to read any out. More coming in. So sorry. Yeah, Steve and Alex, who have been on the show before, this is another downside to site work. They've been told no shorts. Now, Dave, you're a bricklayer, right? I don't get no shorts for a bricklayer. What are you going to do? You're going to cut yourself on the string line? Site work's got some silly rules, isn't it?
Its health and safety's gone through the roof, and politics has overtaken a little bit. Now, look, I'm not going to sit there and say that the health and safety hasn't been thought about. There's obviously a reason why we can't wear shorts, and we know that mortar can burn, cement burns from it and all this kind of stuff now. So I think they're going a little bit. Don't get me wrong, you can't wear shorts, in 30-degree heat, but there's a bit more to it than that, and I'm sure there's a massive argument either side. For us, otherwise, that's our argument. Maybe look, if you've got a pair of pins like me, mate, you want to get them out. But generally
Well, he was talking about his legs and somebody's cut him off. Maybe his legs are horrendous. Perhaps he's got little sparrow legs, chicken legs. Stephen, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Just to kind of wrap up, you did site and domestic work. What are the main 3 reasons in your eyes that domestic is better?
3 reasons why it's better. Direct payment is what we've all agreed on. The pride in your work. And thirdly, I'm fucking happier doing domestic than I am doing site. Simple as. A lot happier.
Well, I think that is a strong argument. Nick, your 3 reasons for domestic against site work?
No one getting in your way, 100%. No one telling you what to do. Don't do very well at being told. Oh my God. Sorry, my phone fell off the side. And yeah, I would say having a relationship, like a proper rapport with the customer and building on that and getting your name passed around, building a name for yourself, definitely.
Dave, the 2 other lads have made 6 good points that you're probably going to. Have you got another 3? Why? I'm just waiting for the site supporters to plough up, but there's nothing yet.
They've just made it really up me. I think Nick's phone might have fallen into his dustpan. He might have found his dustpan for 10 years. Right. No. To be fair, I think they've hit the nail on the head. For me, I love it because quality of work, making clients happy, to seeing your client buzzing at the end of it all makes it all worthwhile. Whether they appreciate it, some people don't know how to show appreciation. But I'm sure they are buzzing inside, some of them. But it's seeing the satisfaction of someone loving what you guys have done, you and your team, because you're only as good as your team, right? It's not just you as a person, as the builder, as the director. I'm only as good as my guys. And as a team working and growing as a team, you'll never get that on commercial. So that's my biggest thing as well, is kind of working with the guys that you want to be around as well, and seeing your client faces so happy and moving on to the next.
One thing I forgot to say, please send comments or messages to either during the show when it's live or to the Facebook page from the tools, or YouTube even, because we want to hear what you want us to talk about. And the reason I say that is because Dubhead11 has made a great topic suggestion talking about prices. He says, I think the industry needs to stick together and try and get people to stop undercutting people. We're a skilled bunch and should be paid accordingly. Great point, and we will, I promise you, we're going to be adding that to the list. I was just looking at next week's show, and it is the first of Who is the Top Trade. It's a bit of a test to see how we get on. It's basically, we're going to call it Trading Punches. Unfortunately, with COVID, we can't literally have a tear up in a car park, so it'll be done virtually. But the first 2 trades off the rank is a decorator against a spread. So that's going to be next week. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Time is ticking by. Thank you to Dave, who at last has worked out how to use his phone. And sadly, when he was talking about chicken legs, he got cut off. Nick, next time you're on the show, can you get tea delivered to the host and other guests? Will be great. And Stephen, keep up your great carpentry work, mate. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And just as I've said goodbye, it's frozen as well. Look at that gorgeous face in the corner. If that is not a good note to finish on, then I don't know what is.